Alright, so it's Sunday, May 31st, 2015 at about 3:18 p.m. And I wanted to make a video because Aiden Dowling, one of my favorite people, was on The Ellen Show. And he was talking about how he didn't know his story. He was saying that about him realizing that he was trans wasn't necessarily common like most people, because he didn't realize that he was trans until he was kind of older, until he was like 17. Whereas I guess kind of the common narrative might be like people might have known when they were like 3 or 4 or 5. And it just kind of inspired me and made me think about like my story and stuff, and I was like, oh well, I am kind of the same way. So I wanted to make a video and talk about my experience, because he said that my story, obviously talking about him, was not common, and I think mine is too. So I wanted to talk about my I guess how I knew I was trans. So I'm 25 now, and it wasn't until a couple months ago that I really came out to myself and accepted the fact that I was in fact transgender. Since then, a lot of things have changed. I have begun to socially transition. I have changed my name. My pronouns have changed. I have begun to, my gender expression has changed. My friends and family call me by a different name. So stuff like that. That's changed. But as far as like coming out and knowing like when I was trans and stuff like that, I mean, there were like little things, I guess, in my past that made me, I guess, realize, little red flags, I guess, that made me question in the past and made me feel like something kind of was off and wrong. I honestly can't go back and say like when I was 3 or anything, like some people say that I was like, oh my god, I'm in the wrong body or anything like that, because I just never really identified as that when I was younger. And that's still not really a term that I use to necessarily describe myself. I don't necessarily say that I'm in the wrong body. That maybe fits some other people, but that's just not necessarily terminology that I use, which is fine. But I'd say I started realizing things and having feelings, I guess, kind of in my teen years, I guess. Just feelings of hearing a certain language used and realizing that it didn't fit. Maybe if my dad would call me his daughter, I would think in the back of my head, no, I'm not your daughter, I'm your son. Or in romantic relationships, not feeling as if I was someone's girlfriend and instead feeling like I was their boyfriend. Kind of things like that. Or I can think of very specific instances in which I was wearing clothes and I would be perceived as the opposite gender. So I would be perceived as a male, and finding validation and comfort in that, and realizing that, okay, well, maybe that isn't normal, or, just kind of being uncomfortable with that, I guess. And then it really wasn't until college, until I was 21, that we watched a documentary in my sociology class called Transgeneration. And it's this really amazing documentary from, I want to say, like 2005 or something like that, where it's like 4 different college students that are all in transition of being transgender. And it's just this really great documentary that I actually started watching again. It's only like 8 episodes, so I watched it again like a couple weeks ago. We were watching that. I remember watching it, and I was like, wow, taking a really immense interest in it, because I was like, this is me, you know. And so I did a lot of research on it and stuff, and I really felt that, I really felt a connection to it. I didn't fully identify as it. I definitely felt like deep down I was like, okay, I was like, this is definitely something I can relate to. But obviously, like I just said earlier, I definitely didn't like come out to myself until a couple months ago. But you know, baby steps, and now I am where I am now. I am where I am now. So yeah, everybody's story is different. Everybody has their own timeline. There's no right or wrong way to be trans, I guess. It doesn't matter whether or not you do or don't have dysphoria. It doesn't matter whether or not you felt things when you were 3, or if you start feeling things when you're 50. It really doesn't matter. If you feel a discord with your mind and your body, then your feelings are valid. So that's just kind of my story, that there were kind of like little red flags throughout my life, I guess. And obviously there's more to it, but this is just kind of like the short version. But I just wanted to share. So there we go.